International instructor. I am Cecilia Sams. I am an international instructor for the Reconnective Academy, and we have a beautiful team of our instructors that are interpreting for this event. We have Melissa, Miriam, Raphael, Fanny, and Guglielmo Poli. So please select the language at the bottom of your screen by clicking the globe that says interpretation, and you will receive the information from that specific room. If you are not in those rooms, please, everyone, please mute. We'll need to have
Se non siete uno degli interpreti o
your presentation, we love to see you, but we have a lot to share and we're going to get started right now. So welcome everyone. The Reconnection, you are here for some reason. How did you find this work? Everybody has their own story. It's a beautiful thing, but there are two aspects of what we offer in with Reconnective healing. Reconnective healing
Ci sono due modalità che offriamo con
very quickly. We have Reconnective healing, which is a frequency. They're actually frequencies. They are vibrations, and we are receiving these and receiving information. Light and information is being received by this vibration, these vibrations of healing. When we are vibrating, we are allowing ourselves to return to a state of balance. And in that balance, we receive healing. Physically, yes. Mentally, yes. Emotionally, yes. Spiritually, yes. Actually, they cannot be separated. All of these things are together. When you have received these frequencies, you begin to shift in your soul, on a cellular level, and healings are received. So we're going to speak about this. This is Reconnective healing. You can receive this at any time, in person or via distance. We are going to talk about how you can have 1 or 2 or 3 sessions or more later on. But what we want you to know is once you begin to receive, your body begins to remember on a cellular level that you are much, much more. Feelings continue to unfold, and your life begins to unfold in many, many ways. This is Reconnective healing. You can have it at any time at all. The reconnection is another process using the frequencies of Reconnective healing. The reconnection is an acceleration of what we have received with Reconnective healing. It involves a grid work of the body. It involves patterns, lines, points. We're going to discuss this at great length. This is a process that is done in 2 sessions.
È un processo che si fa in 2 giorni.
And it costs $333. The 333 is a very significant vibration. We're going to get to that a little bit further into our presentation here. This is done once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime, because once this grid work has been reconnected, it continues to expand for you, with you, throughout your life at the appropriate time for you, for each of us. I'd like to share the story of how this work came to be. Dr. Eric Pearl is a chiropractor in Los Angeles, had a very successful practice for more than 12 years. He had come to a point in his life where things started shifting in a very large way. He needed to be making some changes. He had ended a 6-year relationship that was very, very dear to his heart. And in his chiropractic office, his main office person who was leading the whole team chose to move to another part of the state, so she could no longer be at the office. So he had to hire
La
2 new
persona
people
con
to replace
cui
this one person.
lavorava da tanti anni, da 6
And the
anni,
person
ha
that
deciso
he
di andare
chose,
da un'altra
since he was
parte,
in a state of going through
degli Stati
his
Uniti
breakup
e quindi non ha
and not
potuto più
sure what to
lavorare
do, he
con
asked for
lui.
help, and he asked people to help him interview for these positions. And a
Così ha
woman walked
cominciato a
in, and
fare tante
she
interviste di
was
lavoro a persone che avrebbero
a
dovuto
very
sostituire questa
profound woman.
persona.
She, I don't know if you know the show The Nanny with Fran Drescher, but the character of the
Assomigliava
nanny,
alla
very
Tata, la Tata
loud,
del
very
telefilm,
brass,
una di
very
queste candidate,
nasally, and she talks very strangely. But
parlava in
this
maniera molto
person basically
strana.
walked into his
Avete
office
presente la
and
Tata
he
del
loved
film? È
it. He
proprio
said, I
questo.
have to have her. And she was just wild and wonderful, and it
Ed
kept
era
him
veramente una
interested
persona un po'
in the office.
selvaggia e un
He
po'
had such a
strana,
great
però
time,
ha portato
you know,
una
knowing
grande
this. It was a
energia all'interno
love-hate
dell'ufficio.
relationship, is what they say, because he loved her, but the patients didn't like her at all. So
Lei
it was a
amava i
lot of
pazienti, ma i pazienti
fun
non l'amavano
with this
tantissimo.
woman. And she was in the office, and she said, Dr. Pearl, it's been such a busy day. You need a
E un giorno
break. So
questa
this
nuova
weekend, let's go to
collaboratrice ha
Venice Beach and
detto: "Beh,
have a
senti,
day at the beach.
dottor Pell, è stato
And he
un
said,
giorno
sure.
veramente complicato
So
oggi, per cui
they
andiamo a
go
fare una
to
passeggiata a Venice
Venice
Beach."
Beach, which is a playground of so much. There's music, there's food, there's dancing,
E
there's street
dentro Venice
performers, there's
Beach ci
incense, there's
sono
psychics, there's
veramente
all kinds of
un
things that
sacco
happen
di cose, tra cui
on the Venice
musicanti,
Beach boardwalk.
dei
And so
playground, ci sono tantissime
they are at the
cose dal
beach,
punto di vista anche olistico
and
presenti.
this woman gets up and goes to the boardwalk, and she comes back. She says, Eric, you have to get a reading from this woman. She's on the
E a un
boardwalk
certo
right
punto
now. You
decidono
have to get
di
this
avere
reading.
una
She's
lettura
wonderful.
dei
And he
tarotti
says,
da una
no, I have no
persona
interest in getting
che
this
era lì
reading.
a
And
Venice Beach,
she is just insistent. And she says, okay, okay.
e
I
questa
actually met her
assistente
at a
ha
party this
insistito
past
perché
weekend,
avesse
and
questa
it would
lettura
be
dei tarotti.
embarrassing if you did not get a reading. I brought you to get a reading from her. And so he said, okay. So they get the reading, and he gets the reading. She
Hanno
says,
fatto questa
I have a
lettura,
$10 reading and a $20 reading.
ha
And
detto:
he says,
"Abbiamo una
I've got
lettura da
only
10
$20 and I
una da
still want to get
$20."
lunch. I'll take the $10 reading.
E dice:
So
"Vabbè dai, facciamo quella da 10
it's
per risparmiare."
nice. It's not memorable, but it's okay. And at the
È
end of
stata
the
una
reading,
lettura
she says,
normale, non memorabile, ma
however,
è stata
there's
una buona
this
lettura.
work I do. It's very special. It reconnects the body grid to the planet grid and to the stars. And so he says, okay, well, how much is that? And she says, $333. And he says, thank you,
Questa
no, thank you. I
signora,
have more
poi ha
things to do with
offerto
the
anche un
$333.
lavoro a
And she
livello
goes, but it's written about
energetico da
in the book of knowledge,
$333.
the keys of Enoch.
E
And it would be
questa
very important for you as a
procedura è
healer to do
inclusa
this.
nel
And
libro
he
di
thought,
energia
as a
Enoch,
healer,
Le chiavi di
maybe
Enoch.
that she meant because he's a doctor. So he took the information and he goes back to his office. There's a metaphysical bookstore near his office. And he goes there on his lunch break and he picks up this book. It's called
Sostanzialmente
The Book of Knowledge,
ha dato questo
The
libro,
Book of
ha
Knowledge,
fatto
The
vedere
Keys of
questo
Enoch.
libro, Le chiavi di Enoch,
It's written by a man named J.J. Hertog.
scritto da
And I
J.J.
have lots of lots of notes
Come
on
vedete ci
pages I
sono
just
un
love.
sacco di
But this
appunti.
man, J.J. Hertog, is a
J.J. Booth, anche l'autore.
PhD.
È
He is a very
multilaureato,
bright, intelligent man.
quindi è un
And the
uomo
way he
brillante e
speaks is
intelligente,
very scientific, and it's not
molto
very easy to
scientifico.
follow what he says. And so his way of speaking about this work
Il suo modo di
is
parlare di questa
very
opera
interesting.
è veramente interessante.
I'm going to share with you some of the information he
Cominciamo a
brought in
condividere un
this
po'
book.
di
Eric
informazioni
looks at
che
it.
ha scritto in
He
questo
tries to
libro.
read. He says, I can't understand it. He goes, how much is the book? $50? No, I'm not paying $50 for a book I can't even understand.
E
So he puts it
questo
back and he goes home.
fondamentalmente vanno
But
a
he can't stop
vedere
thinking
dove si
about
potesse trovare
the
questo
book.
libro, trovano questo libro in una
So he goes back the
libreria
next day and he
che
opens the book
costava
and he gets
50
to the
dollari.
chapter that she
E
talks about,
apre
key
direi che non vuole comprare
317.
un libro a 50 dollari.
And
Però a
all
un
of a
certo
sudden he can
punto
understand
apre
some of it.
la pagina
And
della
then he gets to a little
317
further and he can't
e
understand
va
it
un
anymore.
pochino più
So
avanti
he closes it up
pro-
and puts it away
e prova a
and
leggere quello che c'è
comes back the
scritto.
next day and he opens the book and now he can't understand what he understood the day before,
E,
but he can understand the deeper part. And he's so
lo
confused. He said, I'm
legge una
wasting so
parte,
much
la
time.
chiave
It's going to
317,
be
dopodiché
easier
torna il giorno
if
dopo,
I
la
just go
rilegge e
to that
capisce
woman
qualcosa
that
di
he called the
diverso.
Gypsy of Venice and get this work done. So he goes to her and
Così
he has this
si
experience.
convince di andare da lei ad
And
avere questa
this is a
esperienza dal
two-session process, as I
317
said.
volte. È un
And the
processo
first
in due
day,
sessioni.
he
Il
arrives
primo giorno
and he lays down. He had given her
arriva,
the $333
gli dà
and
333
he's
dollari,
in
si
the
rilassa.
experience and he's feeling nothing. And his mind is just going,
Non
I gave her all
sente
this money. What am
niente
I going to
e
do? I'm not
continua a
feeling
pensare,
anything.
ripensare,
And
ripensare al fatto che ha
finally, his
sbucato
mind
questi
kicks in and he
soldi.
says, you've already paid her. Just let go.
E il
Get
secondo
what you
giorno
can
dice,
get.
beh, ormai l'ho già
Just
pagato,
receive.
lasciamolo andare
And so he
e vediamo
relaxes.
che cosa succederà in
And
questi giorni.
the time is over. And she gets
È
him up
finito il
and she says,
tempo.
be very careful. Get back into your body. Come ground, stomp your feet. Let's walk around the
E,
room.
e
And
quindi gli
he in his
dice, torna
mind is
indietro,
thinking, I
lui
don't know what you think happened, but nothing
si
happened.
alza dal lettino e
So
comincia la signora
he
di
goes home that night
ancorarsi a terra, a
and all
sbattere i
is
piedi a terra, a
normal,
muoversi.
except that night, the light
Lui
by
sente
his bed
tutto normal,
turns itself on.
assolutamente normale.
And he feels there's somebody
A parte
in
che
the
quella
house.
stessa notte sente
So
presenze
he
nella
gets
stanza,
a
vede
flashlight,
una luce che
he
si
gets
spegne
his pepper spray, and he gets his
e
Doberman
sente dei
pinscher,
rumori al piano di
and
sotto.
they
Quindi
search through the house
prende il
looking
suo
for
cane,
this
spara il
person he feels
peperoncino
is in the house.
ed è
And
sicuro che
then
ci
they
sia
can't find
qualcuno
him,
in
so
casa.
he goes back to bed. And this is not like Dr. Eric Pearl. Dr. Eric Pearl does not normally just let things like that go, but he did. And he went back to sleep.
E Eric
And
cerca
so
questa persona in tutta la
when
casa,
he
ma
came back for his
torna
second session a
direttamente a
few days
dormire
later,
e va
he
a
comes in,
ripetizione il secondo giorno.
and this session was very, very different.
E questa
He
sessione è stata
had
molto,
a
molto, molto.
restless leg syndrome. He was like, his legs just would not stop moving. And it was
Non
a
riusciva a
very hot summer
muoversi
day.
per via dei registri
And he was chilled to the bone. He was just chilled.
ed
And
era
so when the
completamente
session was over,
congelato.
the
E
woman
quando la
puts
sua
a
sessione
blanket
finita,
around him to try to get him to warm up, and he just can't warm up.
ha provato a
And
scaldarsi
he
un po'.
says he walked to his car, but he couldn't remember how he got to his
Lui
car.
ha
He doesn't remember
camminato
how he got
verso
home, but somehow the
la
car knew
macchina, ma non si
how to get him
ricorda più
home.
niente.
He doesn't remember anything really clearly
Non
until he
ricorda
comes to his
assolutamente
office the
e
next day,
chiaramente,
and
a
then
parte che poi
people
è
start to
tornato
ask him,
nell'ufficio il giorno dopo.
Dr. Pearl, you look so different. What did you do this weekend? What is going on? And he
Cosa è
snaps into
successo
gear
nel
and
weekend?
he says, oh, nothing went on. He didn't want to tell them. I just paid a gypsy $333 to draw lines on my body. So
Dice, non so che cosa
he
abbia
just goes
fatto io
in
nel
to see his
weekend, ho
clients.
solo
And
ricevuto una
on this
sessione da
day,
333 euro perché una
his chiropractic
signora
adjustments,
Gypsy
he
mi
has them
disegnasse su di me delle linee, ma
receive the
non capisco
adjustment
che
and
cosa
then
fa.
just close their eyes to let it settle in. And on this day, people started telling him, Dr. Pearl, I feel you touching
dal
me when you're
giorno
not touching me.
successivo però ha
I
cominciato
feel
ad
people are
avere
in the room.
delle
I feel
risposte
them
dai suoi
walking
clienti,
around the
da
room,
delle persone che conosceva.
running around the
Che è
room,
successo, Eric? Sembra che
flying
sia
around the room.
diversa. E
This
sono
is being
continuate poi queste
repeated
grandi
by
testimonianze
many
di
of his
questi casi.
clients that day. And they say, what is happening? And him being
Cosa è
a doctor
successo?
says, I don't know, and don't tell anyone.
Dice, non so
So
cosa sia successo, ma non ditelo a nessuno, non
this goes
condividetelo con
on.
nessuno.
This continues to go on with his clients since this
Ha
experience.
continuato ad
So he
andare
goes back
avanti
to the Gypsy of Venice
con
and he
questo
asks her,
rientro.
what is going on? This is happening to my clients. And she says,
E
I
i
don't know.
suoi clienti
This has never
cominciano anche a
happened to
analizzare delle
anyone
frasi,
before.
sempre le stesse. Cominciano a
Maybe it's
analizzare
something
sei
that you
frasi.
had
Quindi
before. And
torna
and
dalla
he
signora
goes back.
Gypsy
He
e
doesn't
gli
like the
chiede
answer, but he goes
sostanzialmente
back
che
to his
cosa sia
office.
successo.
And then his clients start telling him, Dr. Pearl, my cancer's gone.
Delle guarigioni,
Hand,
come
I'm able to
dice.
move it. I've had this healing that I can't explain. And they say, what happened? He says,
Che cosa è
I don't know, and
successo
don't tell anyone.
a questi clienti
But
che
they
sostanzialmente
keep
dicono
telling
che
them.
stanno avendo delle
And
guarigioni incredibili.
his patients started coming to him and saying, I was with my uncle who has arthritis and I moved around like you moved around me,
E
and his
i suoi
arthritis
clienti
was much
dicono:
better.
"Senti, io ero con
And he said,
mio
what's
zio che aveva
happening?
l'artrosi, ho
I don't
cominciato a muovere
know,
le
and don't
mani
tell
come
anyone.
facevi tu durante le
So he
sessioni,
goes back
ma
to the
anche a
gypsy
lui è
and
passata
says,
l'artrosi, questo è
now my
incredibile."
clients are healing other people. What's going on? And she said,
E
I don't
Eric
know.
non capisce cosa stia
This has never happened
succedendo.
to anyone
Anche i suoi
before.
clienti erano
And
ora in
so
grado di
she
guarire
is
i propri
tired of
parenti.
him coming back to ask questions that she does not have an answer for. So she says,
E
here, this is
lui
the woman who taught
continua ad
me.
andare dalla
Go
signora
talk to
piena di
her.
domande su
Go
tutto
talk to
quello che gli
her.
sta accadendo,
So
ma
he goes and talks to her
sostanzialmente la
and
signora non
tells
ha
him the
niente
experience.
da
And
dirgli,
she says, I don't know. This has never happened
che non lo
before.
sa, che non era mai
So
successo
he says,
niente
well,
del
teach
genere.
me what she did so I will have a better
E così
understanding.
Eric
And
gli
she says,
chiede: "Ma
no,
allora
the
insegnami."
world is not ready. And he said, wait,
Dice la signora: "No,
this is
il mondo non è
happening
ancora pronto."
with my clients right now. This is happening with my patients. The world is ready. It's happening
Dice:
to
"Ma
me."
il mondo invece è
And she says,
pronto,
no,
perché io lo sto
but
vedendo con i miei
she
clienti, i
is
miei
a
clienti
very,
guariscono
he
le
is very
persone."
persistent. And eventually he talks her into having a class. And so they have a class, but it's not in a regular auditorium.
E
It's
quindi
in a small place.
convinto
So he can put two
sostanzialmente
people
la
in one room,
signora a
two people in another
insegnare
room, two
quello
people in
che
another
aveva
room.
fatto
And
agli
he
altri.
goes into the room and he shows them what to do, and they start practicing on each other. And she moves to the next room to tell them, this is what you do. So Eric is working with his partner, and he says, I have to see that one more time. So they go back into the room that she is now working with, and she's saying, and you draw the line like this. And he says, wait a minute, you told us it's over here. And now you're telling
E
them it's over there.
sostanzialmente che cosa
Which is
succedeva?
it? And
Succedeva
she
che la
looked at
signora,
Eric and she said,
quando gli ha
that was
insegnato a
then, and
Eric
this is
e al
now.
suo partner
Well,
sostanzialmente
Eric did not
le
like
linee e i
that answer,
punti,
but
la signora
maybe it
cambiava
was
sempre
that was
linee e
then,
punti,
and this is
cambiava
now.
sempre
Or maybe
le sue
because
teorie.
she didn't want to
E gli
teach, maybe
dice: "Ma
she's teaching it
perché
differently
tu
to
mi
different
insegni
people.
una
I
cosa
don't know,
prima
but
e ora
he
me
was
la
not
stai
happy
insegnando
with that.
diverso?" Dice: "Beh, perché
So
questo
he
era
goes back
prima,
to his office
adesso è così."
where his
E
clients are
quindi ogni
telling them,
pochi minuti in realtà la
I
signora
feel you
cambiava la sua
touching me when
metodologia.
you're not touching me. So he had them close their eyes and say, all right, where am I? And he would play a game. Right ear, left knee, right shoulder. And they would be guessing correctly. That's where he was, but he wasn't touching them. So
E quindi
since he had
sostanzialmente cosa fa?
learned
Che comincia a
the
chiudere
grid
gli
work that she
occhi
had
e
given,
tenta
he went
di percepire
on
i
his
corpi
own
degli
body
altri e
and he
dice:
started
"Ormai
looking
io
and
starò
feeling,
sbagliando, però
and he
non
could feel.
è esattamente
So he created
è così." E
the
quindi che
lines and
cosa ha
points
cominciato a
that he
fare?
could
Ha
feel
cominciato
on
Eric a
his
sentire
body.
i punti e le linee che
So
fanno adesso parte della riconnessione
he
che lui ha
did not
sviluppato
receive
e
the
ha
reconnection.
provato
He created the
sostanzialmente
reconnection.
quella che è la
He
formula
had a
di oggi.
basis an outline, an understanding
Adesso
of what it
Eric,
was
quello
originally,
che ha
but
fatto,
he
sostanzialmente ha
found
trovato
additional
i
lines and
punti e le
points in
linee
different
della
places.
riconnessione da solo.
So
Quindi non ha
he
ricevuto la
created this
riconnessione
thing
dalla
we know as
signora
the
Gypsy,
reconnection.
ha ricevuto un altro genere
The
di
lines and
sessione,
points
ma adesso
already
sostanzialmente
exist
noi conosciamo
within
la,
us.
noi
We are
conosciamo
not
la,
creating them.
come si dice,
As
conosciamo la
we
riconnessione
move
grazie al
through
lavoro
the
di Eric.
body
E
in our
la
classes,
signora
as we're
faceva
teaching,
qualcosa di
we are
assolutamente
asking people to
diverso,
focus
faceva
on the
qualcosa
center
di
of their palm.
assolutamente
You see the center of the
difficile.
palm?
Al
It's in the
contrario,
back. There's
Eric,
the center.
puntando
There's the center.
questi punti
We are
e
teaching people
queste
to
linee
find
dal centro
that
della mano,
sensation
che cosa
with the
faceva?
center of
Trovava
their
la
palm. But
sensazione
when they
che
get
con
there,
le frequenze
the
di
line
Reconnective
doesn't suddenly
Healing
appear.
andava a
The line is already
irradiare
there,
punti e linee
and we are
specifiche,
moving into it.
facendo così che i sistemi
So as
energetici
we are moving in
parlassero
with
tra
the
di loro.
frequencies that are vibrating, that are expanding, that are shifting our cellular DNA,
E
this
questo
line
genere
is
di
now going
vibrazione energetica
and it feels and it
cambia
responds and it
sostanzialmente la
reconnects
vibrazione dei
to the
nostri corpi,
wholeness,
delle nostre
the
cellule, del nostro
fullness
DNA
that we are.
e ci fa
This
tornare
is what we
sostanzialmente
are
profondamente
sharing
chi
in
siamo
the
noi
process
veramente.
of the reconnection.
E queste sono le basi della riconnessione.
I'm going to share with you a bit about what was said in the book of knowledge, The Keys of Enoch,
Vi
when
condivido
Dr.
ora
Eric
un
went
pezzetto di quello che c'è
to
scritto
read
nelle
about
chiavi di
this.
Enoch
This is what
riguardo
he
proprio
read.
questi punti e queste linee.
There is at work within all biological systems a path of
Lungo il
interchangeability
nostro
to
sistema biologico
standardize unique
c'è
vibratory
un
levels.
sistema di punti e linee a livello
Breaking that down,
che
there is
standardizza
at
il
work
nostro
within all
livello di
biological
rumore
systems.
e
What
che
is a biological system?
sostanzialmente il nostro
It
sistema
is us, it is you,
biologico fa
it is me, it
vibrare.
is each one of
Ed è
us,
questo
our
sistema
bodies, our
biologico in
biological
realtà non è
systems.
soltanto il nostro corpo
And
fisico,
within this is
è
a
tutto
path
noi, siamo tutti noi,
of interchangeability
e
to
c'è quindi
standardize unique
un'intercambiabilità
vibratory levels. What did we
per
say reconnective
standardizzare i
healing is?
sistemi di
It's a
vibrazione che
frequency,
interagiscono tra di noi
it's a vibratory level.
e
And we are
questo avviene a un
using this
livello
biological
puramente
system to
vibratorio, ma ha
standardize and
effetto sul sistema
interchange
biologico.
with
E
these
intercambiando
frequencies.
questo livello vibratorio,
Our galactic body of
i
creation
nostri corpi
controls
galattici
its
di
renewing
creazione
functions through meridian
avviano in questo modo dei
axiatonal
processi
lines,
di
which are the
rigenerazione
equivalent of acupuncture lines
e
that can
usando queste
connect
linee che
with
sono
resonating
l'equivalente
star
delle linee di
systems.
agopuntura,
The meridian lines, the axiatonal lines,
le
people
linee meridiane
understand them
conosciute nella medicina
through
cinese, le
many
linee
different
assiatonali,
forms of healing. You might consider the acupuncture lines and grids and
sono
points, and you might know
conosciute
them.
come
And
sistema
yes, the
di
reconnection
guarigione
encompasses some of
a
them, but we
livello
have additional
profondo,
ones as
a
well.
livello.
There are more, as I mentioned, Eric found more.
E Eric ha
These
trovato in
axiatonal
realtà
lines
molto di
are
più.
not limited to a physical body
Queste
or a
linee assiatonali non
biological
sono limitate a
creation,
questo corpo
but
fisico,
are open-ended
ma
and
sono
can connect
aperte
the body
e
vehicle
proseguono
with
dentro e fuori i
axiatonal
nostri
lines
corpi.
that
Queste linee
emanate
assiatonali
with the various star populations
ci
and
connettono
exist as a
agli
chemical code
livelli, diciamo,
mechanism.
vibratori delle
The
popolazioni
axial
galattiche
lines
interstellari.
are part of a fifth dimensional circulatory system
Queste linee assiatonali
combining
fanno
color
parte delle
and
linee di
sound,
quinta
which
dimensione
can be used for the renewing functions
e
of the
possono essere
human
usate per
evolutionary
rinnovare le
body.
nostre
Now,
funzioni
we have
vitali
used the word axiatonal several times. I'm
e
going to share
il
with you
nome
a little
assiatonali
breakdown
adesso lo
of
andiamo
what
a
we know.
spiegare perché l'ho usato molte volte.
Oh, here we go. Axial tonal, broken
Linee
down from axial
assiatonali
to tonal.
e la parola
Axial
si
is a
divide in
structure
axia,
It's our
tonale.
body.
Axia
It's
è
the patterns within.
la struttura, il
It is
nostro corpo,
angles,
la
it is
struttura,
geometry,
è
it is
geometria,
architecture
è
and
architettura,
form.
è forma.
That's what we carry in with us, with our
Questo è quello che
body grid,
portiamo noi qui,
with also the
nella
planetary
nostra
grid,
dimensione.
and with the grid of the universe.
E questo ci connette
Let's go to tonal.
con la
Tonal
griglia universale.
are the
Andiamo alla
colors,
parola tonale,
the
colori,
sounds,
suoni,
their lights,
luci, informazioni,
information.
vibrazioni.
Have you ever felt someone staring at you from behind and you turn around and yes, there's somebody staring at you?
Avete mai
You are
percepito
receiving information about
qualcuno
this
da dietro
interaction
e all'improvviso
without even
siete
knowing,
girati ed
without your
effettivamente c'era
senses,
qualcuno?
without seeing,
Avete
hearing, smelling,
ricevuto
tasting, or touching. You just knew.
l'informazione da
There's
dietro.
information that is
Avete
being
ricevuto l'informazione di
received.
qualcosa che non
The
vedevate
vibration,
e
this
semplicemente
tonal is
percepivate.
frequency. They are the hues of healing. Tonal is what reconnective healing is
Axial
without the
è
structure,
struttura,
without the forms.
tonal
It
è
is
quello che usa la
available to
frequenza di
us to
Reconnective
alter
Healing. Quindi
our
noi nella
DNA
riconnessione andiamo a mischiare,
just
andiamo a
as
usare
is.
sia la
When
parte
we
diciamo,
add the structure, when
assiale,
we
che sono i
add
punti e le
the
linee, e
patterns and the
tonale, che
angles,
sono le frequenze e le
then
linee.
we have the reconnection. Then we have an alternate way to receive the healings. So, Axiatonal, we have talked about that a few different ways now. So,
Adesso abbiamo detto
the
Axiatonal,
axial lines are a part of a fifth dimensional circulatory system
fanno parte
combining
di un
color and sound,
sistema
which can be
circolatorio del
used for the
sistema
renewing functions
che
of
ci
the
aiuta a
human
rinnovare le nostre
evolutionary body.
funzioni dei nostri
Conversely,
compiti
axiotonal lines operate prior to the
e
action
le
potential
linee
for the
axiatonali
animation of the human
ci fanno
species.
un upgrade rispetto a quello che è il nostro livello vibratorio normale.
Axiotonal lines cause new patterns of cellular circumvolution to
Le
take,
linee
to take
axiatonali
place.
sono dei veicoli sostanzialmente
Through
di
the spin
energia a
point,
livello universale.
cells become the tissue responsible for the regeneration and transmission of direct current signals used in the
Queste linee
regeneration
axiatonali
process.
fanno vibrare le nostre cellule con dei segnali totalmente diversi a
These
noi.
grids are organized to exchange
E queste
genetic information
griglie che si formano
throughout the
sono
body
organizzate
through
per
a
scambiare
network
le
of messenger
informazioni del
cells,
nostro
which are
corpo
passed on to any part of the body.
con
In
un
other words,
altro
through
sistema
axiotonal
a
grids,
livello universale, a livello globale.
there is provided the key framework that
Eric
is
ci
necessary
ha dato
for the
sostanzialmente
proper
le chiavi
formation
per questo
of a
sistema.
new limb, organ, etc.
Addirittura
The
per
grid network
rinnovare quelli che
within the
sono i
body
nostri
is
organi, i
connected with
nostri
the spinal
tessuti
column,
e
which is the
con tutto
major
quello di
antenna
cui
for the
facciamo
grounding of
parte.
these light signals. This is the information that Dr. Pearl was reading in the Book of Knowledge, The Keys of
Questa
Enoch.
era
Again,
esattamente
this
l'informazione che
is
Eric
written
aveva
by
trovato
J.J.
nel
Hertock, Dr. J.J.
Reconnection.
Hertock. I should say Doctor, because PhD, he was told
Il J.J. Urtak,
this
autore del libro
information
Le chiavi di Enoch,
in person.
è stato
This was given to
sostanzialmente
him
anche lui
in
illuminato con questo
1973.
evento,
He says
scrivendo
he did
questo
not
libro nel
channel this information.
1973.
He says he was
Lui non ha
physically taken
ricevuto queste
to meet
informazioni, lui
with
sostiene proprio di essere
beings
stato
who
portato
gave him
in
this
posto
information.
e questa informazione
And his
gli
mind
si è
was so
sostanzialmente
expanded to the capacity
installata,
that he
possiamo
could bring it
dire,
back
nel
and
cervello
write about it. He wrote
e
about
in
this in
pochissimo tempo dopo
1973.
ha cominciato a scrivere
Dr.
questo
Pearl
libro che
received his
vedete
grid work and
davanti.
his life change in 1993.
Eric ha avuto questo cambio
So
di vita nel 1993, quindi
this,
20 anni dopo.
when he wrote it, was a theory.
quando J.J. Urtak
Dr.
ha scritto questo libro
Hertog
era una
was on a
teoria
panel
e
in Toronto
in Toronto, a
speaking
Toronto,
about this
J.J.
book
Urtak stava
and
dando
the
una
teachings of the Book
conferenza
of Knowledge,
e
the Keys of
dava gli
Enoch,
insegnamenti
with
delle
everyone in Toronto. And Dr. Eric Pearl
ed Eric
was the speaker following him.
era lo speaker
In his
successivo
introduction,
a J.J. Urtak.
after his talk was over, he
E quando
said,
è
"This
finita
that I
la
wrote about
spiegazione
in
di J.J. Urtak,
1973 was theory.
lo stesso J.J.
I'd
Urtak
like
ha
to
detto nel
introduce the
1973 questa era
first
teoria,
practical
ma
application
Eric
of what I
ha
wrote
trovato
about
il modo
with Dr. Eric
di
Pearl
avere
and the
un'applicazione
Reconnection."
pratica rispetto a quello
So
che era la
he
teoria di 20 anni
introduced
prima.
Dr. Eric Pearl as the instigator, the initial
E
practical
quindi Eric,
application
possiamo dire, è stato
with the
il
Reconnection
primo
of bringing this
davvero
work
a,
to the world.
come si può dire, è stato la porta delle
During that talk in
teorie.
Toronto, one of our associates was in the audience and he opened the book
Durante
thinking it would
questa,
open to a page
durante questa
of the
conferenza a Toronto,
317 that we had been studying.
quando c'è stata la
And
lettura
on
che
that
c'era uno
page was
7,
a word.
c'era
There
una
was only
parola
one bold word on that page, and that
e ce n'era
word
solo uno in
was
grassetto
reconnected.
durante la lettura
So he spoke to Eric and
ed
said,
era
"I
Reconnect,
know where you got the word, the
Reconnected.
reconnection. It's
E
from this."
dice, allora
And
sai
he says, "Where
come
did you
voglio
find that?"
chiamare questo
He
processo
says,
che ho
"That's in
inventato? The
key
Reconnection, la
314.
riconnessione.
Eric says, "I haven't even finished reading key 317."
E
So
dice
you
Gigi
did not
Ustach,
get
allora
it
devi
from
andare a
there. I
riguardare
did
la
not
chiave
get it from there.
314, non solo la
The reconnection is
317.
something he had created. It just was. He knew the work of the reconnection.
Ed Eric è come se
But
avesse
on
sempre
key
saputo.
314,
E la chiave
when he
314,
opened the book, what our
Eric
associate
apre il
found
libro
was through a projection of light
e
coming
dice
from the
che la
recorder
vera
cell
proiezione
or
di
Merkaba activity,
ed è
selected
una
individuals
parte della
can be reconnected
attività
with their
della
Adam Kadmon
Merkaba
image through a resonance operating through hyperdimensional space.
e questa,
Frequencies.
diciamo, luce della
The Adam
Merkaba
Kadmon image is our
sostanzialmente ti
perfect
fa
blueprint.
tornare a quello che
Each of
è
our individual perfect
l'Adam Kadmon,
blueprints.
si dice
Mine is
in
different from
cabalistica,
yours, is different
ovvero il
from
tuo
theirs,
vero
is
io, la
different
tua
from
vera
everybody's.
essenza. Chi
We are
sei tu
unique.
veramente?
So my perfect blueprint is going to receive it in a different way than yours. Each
E
of us will.
quindi questo ritorno
The
in
Merkaba
essenza
activity,
fa sì che noi ci
we'll talk
percepiamo in
about
modo
that
diverso e gli altri ci
just
percepiscono
a
in
moment.
modo diverso. Sostanzialmente per quelli che siamo veramente.
First, I'd like to go through a little bit of the resonance of 333.
Mi piacerebbe
Jetzt
parlare un
schon.
pochino della frequenza 333.
333.
333.
Why is this work
Cos'è questa cosa?
offered for $333?
E perché questa frequenza
I
è
invite
il
each of
nostro
you
prezzo? 333
afterwards
dollari, euro,
to
eccetera.
search for the number 333. Do a search, add a word, 333
Fate una
meaning,
ricerca sul numero
333
333.
significance,
Quali sono i
333, tell me
significati
what it
di
is.
333?
I don't know. Find your own understanding of
Trovate la
333,
vostra
and
proprio
you will
significato
find
del 333 e
that
troverete
it exists in an incredible
che esiste
quantity.
in
You
un'incredibile
will find
quantità
so many
di culture e
things on
troverete
333. We did not make this up.
un'incredibile quantità di
This has
significati.
been something that we have known in this world
Ed è qualcosa che noi abbiamo
for
sempre saputo in questo mondo.
throughout the ages.
Sin dai
The 333
antichi.
vibration
La vibrazione
is an
333
aspect and can be discussed and theorized to an endless degree.
è stata
We
osservata e discussa da
I ask
tantissime persone.
all of my classes to find it, and we come back and we talk about it. And this is a few of the things that people have returned with. The 333. It appears in matters of spirituality and religion,
Appare in tematiche
including
di
Christian,
spiritualità,
Hindu, Islam,
tutti
it is in
i
sacred geometry,
temi religiosi,
in nature,
cristianesimo,
in
induismo,
mythology,
judaismo,
in
appare nella
architecture.
geometria sacra, nell'architettura.
333.
333.
1 second. How many of you have seen that?
Chi ha mai visto questo
That's
simbolo,
a
il simbolo
3
dell'uomo? È un
with
3.
all these additional designs. This is Om.
Queste ulteriori
This is found
appendici.
in many cultures, in the yogic cultures. This is found, and it is shared as
E questo è
the sound of God,
come il
the sound
suono,
of creation.
il suono della creazione.
333 has a
333.
very significant tone to it, has a very significant meaning to it. As we put them together, we found threes repeat in trinities, holy trinities,
E conosciamo
many trinities.
le nostre
They represent as male,
sulla
female,
Trinità.
child, beginning, middle, end, Father, Son, Holy Spirit,
E Padre, Figlio, Spirito
Mother,
Santo.
Father, God,
Padre,
past, present,
Padre,
future,
Dio. Passato,
positive,
presente, futuro,
negative,
positivo,
neutral.
negativo e neutrale.
The 3, 3, 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9.
3 e 9.
In numerology, 9 is the vibration of completion
Nella numerologia il 9 è il numero del compimento
and mastery.
e maestria.
369 is a
369
fundamental pattern
è
in
un
creation,
pattern
in the way
fondamentale nella creazione
plants grow, in the structures of the planet itself.
e nella struttura e costruzione del
369, according
pianeta e
to Tesla,
dell'universo.
these numbers
9
form the fundamental
Tesla,
building blocks of the universe and had a
parla
profound impact on
delle
everything
bastoni
from
fondamentali
energy and
che
frequency
costituiscono
to the
l'universo
structure of matter itself.
e dice che è la
3 is
struttura
represented in
dello stesso
architecture
universo.
in its strength, its form, the triangle,
E la
as in
cosa
the
più
pyramid.
importante è il triangolo.
The equilateral triangle is the strongest
Il
structure
triangolo
known
equilatero è
to
la
man.
struttura più solida dell'intero universo. Eccolo qua.
Each line
Ogni
is
linea
the same distance.
è
One
a
does not
distanza.
overpower the others. Each of them are equal.
Tutte sono uguali.
With the point on top, this is considered to be
Con
the
il
male,
punta verso
the
su
masculine
è
energy.
considerato un
With the
simbolo
point
maschile
pointing below, this
e
is
con
considered the
la punta
female.
verso il
They
basso
need to
un
intersect
simbolo
to be
femminile.
balanced and
E
complete
quando si
and whole.
intersecano per essere perfetti,
With the point on top, it says it is considered as above, so below. With the
nella
point on bottom,
perfezione
it's
con la
as
punta
below,
verso in
so above.
alto,
As
significa
on
così in
earth as
alto,
it
così in
is in
basso.
heaven. When we continued with this
Quando continuiamo
pattern and structure,
questo
we
pattern,
found
questa struttura,
as above, so below.
come sopra, così in
There's a
basso.
very famous structure
Troviamo
known as
questa
the Star of
struttura che è
David,
la stalla di
the
David,
Merkaba,
la Merkaba,
Merkaba. And the Star of David
la stella di Davide,
represents two overlapping equilateral triangles, which represent the
rappresenta
relationship
due
between man and God.
triangoli equilateri che si intersecano in una
All persons of the
relazione
Trinity are represented
equidistante
in this creation. Wisdom, majesty, power, love,
e rappresenta la
mercy,
creazione, la
justice.
maestà
They are all part of this creation.
e tutte le parti di questa creazione.
In the book of knowledge, the keys of Enoch,
Nel libro
we talked about
della
that
conoscenza, delle chiavi di Enoch,
through a projection of light coming from the recorder cell or Merkaba activity, selected individuals can be reconnected
dice che
with the Merkaba
sostanzialmente questa
activity.
energia della Merkaba
One of our other associates opened the book of knowledge,
seleziona
the keys of Enoch,
sostanzialmente
while
soggetti
they were
speciali che saranno riconnessi e che poi
preparing to talk about it the
eh,
next day. They
continueranno
actually were asleep
a
and they
riconnettere
opened their eyes, and it was as if the book was calling to them. And in the dark, she said, "What?" And she grabbed the
A
book
un
and she
certo
opened it
punto
and she
Eric,
turned to a page,
quando aveva già
and
ricevuto
the
il
page
libro e
opened
anche la
to
riconnessione,
a
ha
structure
avuto
looking like
una
this.
idea mentre dormiva, è andato a prendere il libro ed è
There was
andato a
this structure,
guardare
and
questa
this is in
struttura.
key 108 of
Questa
the Book of
è
Knowledge, Keys of Enoch.
presente, questo simbolo poi ha
And it
visto
was
essere
interesting
presente
because
nella
she was
chiave
familiar with this structure,
3108
but we had never gone through this
e
chapter in the Book of
questa
Knowledge, the Keys of Enoch.
struttura, diciamo, non
So
l'aveva mai vista prima e non ne avevano
she reads
neanche,
into it,
fino a quel momento,
and it
compreso,
talks
la
about
potenza di questo
this formula.
e
There exists a
sostanzialmente,
sacred formula
esiste una
to be read
formula,
on different levels to function as a mathematical
una
key.
una formula segreta che
The
può essere
formula
usata
is
per
expressed,
rigenerarci.
and I was told that the higher evolution in working with the Great Pyramid
E
use this formula
anche
to
questa
coordinate
formula
the
è
Great Pyramid
contenuta
with the
nella
other
grande
grids of light.
piramide di
This
Giza.
arrangement can be used to create electromagnetic propagation functions
E
in the
questa
midst
struttura può essere
of the
usata
lattice
per
formation.
diffondere sistemi
Electromagnetic
elettromagnetici
propagation functions in the midst of the
propagazione
lattice
di queste
formation.
onde magnetoelettriche.
Electromagnetic, we know that as we are playing with the frequencies of reconnective healing, people describe feeling electricity. People describe feeling magnets, a pulling, a stretching. They feel these sensations in receiving this work. Electromagnetic propagation. Propagation
La
means
propagazione
to
magnetoelettrica
multiply, to expand, to make more of, to make bigger, to
ci
grow.
aiuta sostanzialmente a essere più
So
grandi,
this
essere più
arrangement
espansi.
can be used to create electromagnetic propagation functions
E queste
in the midst
funzioni
of a lattice formation. A lattice formation,
magnetoelettriche
what's a
servono
lattice formation?
sostanzialmente a fare espandere
Well,
quella che è la funzione
when we're teaching the reconnection, we
magnetoelettrica
are teaching grid works of the body. And as we talked about
e come abbiamo
this
detto,
formation,
questa
as we
formazione
said, this was familiar to our associate when she opened the book.
che era
We
simile a
looked
quella trovata sul libro,
into our grids that we teach in
le
the
ritroviamo
reconnection. And one of the patterns involves
in
this.
quello che insegniamo sostanzialmente a livello
Do you see
del
this
tool del
formation
Reconnection.
in this
Vedete
pattern,
che
in this grid work,
questa linea
this
verde
lattice
si
formation?
compongono di
When
triangoli
all is said and
verdi e
done,
rossi che si intersecano
this
esattamente allo stesso modo.
many combinations of this pattern creates a lattice formation. As we look upon this grid work,
Se noi guardiamo attraverso questo schermo,
we see
vediamo
similarities to another shape, another form we just
similarità
spoke of,
con quello che abbiamo
the
appena detto.
Merkaba. The Merkaba is two intersecting triangles, equilateral triangles. This other pattern that was found in the Book of Knowledge, the Keys of Enoch, is a grid work of interlocking equilateral triangles. Are they the same? Are they? Let's talk a little bit more about the Merkaba for a moment. The Merkaba.
Questa è la Merkaba.
Merkaba is believed to be this two-dimensional triangle spinning in opposite directions, which form the symbol. The spinning
La
of these
Merkaba si
triangles
pensa che
in
sia
opposite directions
formata a
is
livello
believed to
tridimensionale da
symbolize
queste due
the
piramidi, questi due
three-dimensional
triangoli,
energy
che
field
sostanzialmente
that surrounds
girano l'una
each and
sull'altra,
every
generando
one of
poi
us.
questo campo elettromagnetico,
It's important to
che è
note
un
that
importantissimo
when we
sistema
talk about the
energetico.
Merkaba symbol being
Questo
present
simbolo di
in the human
Merkaba
body,
è
it doesn't
presente nel
refer
corpo
to our
umano
physical body,
e
but rather
aiuta
our
il nostro
spiritual
corpo
body,
fisico.
our spiritual being. In sacred geometry, the
Nella
triangle
geometria
pointed
sacra,
upwards represents the masculine, the celestial
la
energy,
punta
as
verso
the
l'alto
as
del
well as the
triangolo
active
rappresenta il
creation.
maschile,
The inverted triangle
la
is considered a symbol of
creazione,
feminine
al
energy, earth,
contrario,
and passive
la
creation. The
femminilità,
Merkaba is formed by combining these
e la
two
Merkaba
and
combina
creating the perfect
sostanzialmente la
balance
parte sopra
for
con la
all
parte
life
sotto
energies,
e
all life
sostanzialmente
forces.
fa girare questa Merkaba, fa girare sostanzialmente questa nostra energia.
So,
Quindi
are they the same?
sono la stessa cosa.
I looked
Io ho
and
guardato
found me a Merkaba.
e ho
I
trovato
wanted to
la
see it
Merkaba.
spinning, but this particular one doesn't spin in opposite directions.
E
But
questa in
if it
particolar
did,
modo non gira
if we looked at
in
this
formazione diversa,
from
però per darvi un'idea
another
di quello
view,
che è la Merkaba. Da un'altra visione, se la
it's
vedete
exactly the same
lateralmente, è esattamente il simbolo che abbiamo
as
appena
that grid
visto.
we are creating in the reconnection.
Esattamente quello
It's
che stiamo
exactly
creando nella
the same.
riconnessione.
So
Quindi,
these two forms
queste due forme
are the Merkaba from a
sono la
different
Merkaba,
angle, from a different
viste
viewpoint.
da angoli differenti.
And when they spin,
E quando loro
the
girano,
Merkaba is also referenced as the chariot of God. It allows
quando
us to
loro
move
girano
into the
sono
timeless,
sostanzialmente chiamate anche
where
il
we
carro
exist on
divino.
multiple levels,
E
in different
questo
dimensions, in
si
different timelines,
riconnette ad altre
with different
dimensioni
points of wisdom being received.
e ci dà maggiore saggezza.
We are eternal, we are infinite, and we are
E il
receiving
fatto ci
information that
riconnette al fatto che noi siamo
belongs to
eterni,
us.
siamo
When we are
infiniti e che
reconnected,
questa realtà ci
we
appartiene.
reconnect the body grid to the planetary grid, which is filled with
E la
lines and
riconnessione ci
points
riconnette
and places
anche
of
alla
intersection
griglia del
where they
pianeta
intersect. There
e
are
dove si
increased
intersecano queste
measurements of
energie
electromagnetic activity. People
e
recognize
l'energia
them in Sedona and
elettromagnetica
the pyramids and
lo
power places,
troviamo
Machu
nei
Picchu. They're
posti dove le
recognized all
antiche
over the
civiltà hanno
planet.
costruito
They exist
poi
in our
le
body.
cose più
We
importanti
reconnect
come a
these lines and
Sidona,
grids.
nelle grandi
We
piramidi,
reconnect to those power places to expand
e
into the
abbiamo visto
universe
come tutti questi posti sono
where
anche
all these lines
interconnessi
and
tra di
points
loro.
exist in the tonal qualities. Remember the tonal qualities of light and color and the
E
hues
tutti
of healing, the
questi
vibration, the
mobi della
sounds, things
Terra
you know
sono
exist
connessi
but
in
can't
modo
hold on to.
tonale, come abbiamo visto,
They're not
grazie a
tangible for
luce,
you. They don't
tono,
have the shape and
suono.
the form that you can grab as the axial lines grab, the structure,
E quando le
the
osserviamo possiamo anche
patterns.
osservarle sotto
But
forma
when we
aziale,
do
con
bring them
la
together,
forma.
we have a formation
Abbiamo una
that
formazione
we have created
che abbiamo creato. Eccolo qua,
with the two tetrahedrons
con i due
circling
tetraedri
in opposite directions,
in direzione
spinning,
opposta, girando,
giving us this chariot of
e
God,
si crea
this
questo carro
ability
divino,
to,
questa
some say,
abilità,
travel through time. But we know time
e
doesn't exist
addirittura
because we are all
viaggiare nel tempo.
experiencing everything here and now. We
Questo è
have
quello che
wisdom that that we are
di cui
experiencing
abbiamo
in other dimensions
l'esperienza, noi,
in
quello di
this
cui facciamo
very
esperienza
moment.
connettendoci.
And as we reconnect that pattern, the lines and points,
E riconnettendoci a questo pattern
perhaps
di linee e punti,
we are receiving and open to
forse
receive
we
the
are,
information that belongs to us from that
siamo
different
pronti a
dimension
ricevere
that is
informazioni attorno a
overlapping
noi,
as the lines and points overlap. As the lines and points
e questi sono i
overlap,
punti e le linee
however they may be viewed.
che noi riconnettiamo con la
This
riconnessione.
is the grid structure that we
Questa
are
è la
creating
struttura
within
della
the
griglia
reconnection as we move through
della
this
riconnessione
program.
e esattamente
How
come
is it going to
avviene
unfold for each of
durante
us?
i nostri corsi di formazione.
Uniquely. It will be unique for each of us. We
E
will receive
ogni
it as
esperienza
it's
sarà
appropriate in
unica
the
per ognuno
timing
di
that
noi
is as appropriate for us,
e succederà tutto quello
and
che è
it's all going to be
appropriato per
perfect.
noi,
We must
tutto quello che è
allow
giusto che succeda in questo momento,
that to be,
tutto quello che deve accadere.
and know that we're going to get the information that's appropriate for us.
E
And
che riceveremo queste
remember,
informazioni nel
you are
modo
not
più
a
appropriato per
puppet
noi
on a string. That
e faremo
means we
parte
don't
di questo
control what
flusso
you do with your grid work. We don't
e
control what you do with the
noi
information you're
non
receiving. You can
controlleremo
choose to put it off and say,
mai
no, I'm not ready. I don't want to go through that right
qualcosa,
now. That
ma
doesn't mean
tu
you've
sarai
dismissed it. It's not
sempre
cut off ever again.
il
That
padrone,
means you can
insomma,
choose it to be part of your
del
life
tuo futuro,
when
della
it's
tua
appropriate
vita.
for you to choose
E
it to be
succederà
part of
quello che
your
è
life.
appropriato per te.
If you want to study this and know more about this and receive this must be facilitated in person. The reconnection
Questo deve
is a
essere facilitato
two-session
di
process.
persona,
To be
è
facilitated
un
in
processo
person,
in 2
you need
giorni
your body grid
diversi e
to play
l'operatore
with, to
disegnerà
receive
queste linee e questi
the
punti
planetary
con
grid, the
te
universal grid, reconnecting all of it
e
to each other, to expand
riconnettendo la
it
griglia
throughout
del pianeta, la griglia
throughout
dell'universo
eternity,
e le tue linee
because we are eternal.
axiatonali con questo sistema.
You may go to Reconnective Academy to find programs
Potete
all over the
trovare
world
i corsi in tutto il
in your
mondo
area, or give yourself a treat and
di Reconnective Academy
travel to some
nella
place you
tua
haven't
area,
been.
oppure anche puoi viaggiare,
It's your
e
perfection,
sono in molti,
and
molti
this
posti.
work is there for you when
Potete
you
fare di questo
are
anche una
ready
professione
to
se ne
receive it.
avete,
This
ma
work comes to
soprattutto è un modo per
those who are
ricevere
reconnected,
le
the
informazioni
people
che
who
sono
are
riconnessi all'universo.
choosing this in their life. It says the atom cannot, through a projection of light coming from the recorder cell or Merkaba activity, selected individuals
Ritorneremo
can be
all'Adam
reconnected with
Kadmon,
the
che è la
atom
nostra
Cadmon image
proiezione
through a resonance
fondamentale, la
operating
nostra
through
proiezione
hyperdimensional
originale che
space.
viene
Who are these selected
sostanzialmente
individuals?
dall'energia della Merkaba
You,
e chi
me,
sarà sostanzialmente
each of us.
questa informazione? Cosa sarà questa informazione?
Join
Sarà
us at the
informazione
Reconnective
di
Academy
te che
and learn
sei veramente te
for
stesso.
yourself.
Quindi
You're in
andate
this room
sul
for
sito
a
di
reason.
Reconnective Academy, vi aspettiamo ai
Understand
corsi di
more,
formazione, in italiano i prossimi
experience more.
saranno a Chiasso, nella
They're
Svizzera
ready for you.
italiana, giusto dopo il confine
I want to thank
svizzero,
my beautiful
e
team. I want to
il
thank you for
prossimo
being present, for
corso
showing up, for
completo
wanting
iniziale
to
sarà a Roma invece 1, 2, 3,
participate
4
and learn
febbraio.
more and to know more.
Grazie a tutti, grazie a Cecilia Sams che ha fatto questa bellissima
I
lezione,
want to
grazie
thank
a
our
tutti i
beautiful
traduttori,
interpreters,
grazie davvero di
Melissa,
cuore a
Miriam,
tutti i partecipanti.
Raphael,
Grazie
Annie,
Cecilia, ciao a
and
tutti
Guglielmo
quanti
Poli, the director
e
of the
a
Reconnective
presto. Ciao
Academy.
Guglielmo Poli, che sono io direttore della
We hope to see you
Connective Academy International,
in one of
e
our
grazie di
programs soon.
cuore a tutti i
If you have been to the
partecipanti.
program
È
years
stato
ago,
qualcosa di
you get a very special
meraviglioso.
alumni
Cecilia sta
discount of
ricordando che
50%
se
off.
avete già partecipato ai corsi di
Come back.
formazione passato, potete tornare
We
e
look forward to.
riformarvi, rifare l'esperienza
Thank you.
successivamente. Meraviglioso, grazie mille a tutti quanti e buona serata a tutti dopo questo difficilissimo momento di traduzione. So, I'm passing to English to thank you, Cecilia, to thank you, really, everyone.
Thank you so much,
Okay,
everyone.
it was absolutely
Thank you,
amazing
Cecilia.
at my side.
Dear.
Thank you.
Thank you to
Welcome,
all the
everybody.
participants.
Thank
It
you,
was
everybody.
fantastic.
Thank
You
you.
will be mailed with the
To
recording in
place
the next couple of
Reconnective
days.
Academy. Oops.
Have a very good evening or
.com.
day or night. It depends where you are. Good night.
Thank you,
from,
Cecilia.
Reconnective
Thank you,
Academy
everyone.
International, the
It's been my
Reconnection.
pleasure.
We are one. We are just one
Love to all.
entity. And this is just the first of many meetings in which we will touch
We'll find another
deeply,
Zoom to answer your questions.
yes,
We appreciate your time.
to touch deeply all
Thank you.
Thank you.
all the
Bye bye.
that we
Thank
love so much.
you.
Good night,
Hello,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye bye.